the meal they shared. The winter evening settled cold and sharp over the city park. Jonathan Westbrook cut through the park on his way home from another late night at the office. At 43, he was CEO of Westbrook Financial, a man whose decisions moved millions of dollars daily. His tailored coat probably cost more than most people made in a month, and he was acutely aware of that uncomfortable truth lately. Success had come at a price. His marriage had ended 3 years ago when his wife couldn't compete with his obsession with work. No children, no family waiting at home, just an empty penthouse and the hollow achievement of being very, very rich and very, very alone. He was thinking about this emptiness when he noticed them. On a park bench, illuminated by a street lamp, sat a woman and 2 small children. The woman appeared to be in her late 20s, wearing a thin coat inadequate for the weather. The children, a girl about 6 and a boy perhaps 4, huddled close to her for warmth. All 3 wore clothes that had seen better days. What stopped Jonathan wasn't their appearance. It was what the woman was doing. She held a single sandwich wrapped in deli paper. As Jonathan watched, she carefully divided it into 3 portions. Not equal portions. She gave each child a larger piece while keeping the smallest for herself. "But Mama, you need to eat too," the little girl protested. "I'm not as hungry as you are." "Sweetie," the woman replied, her voice gentle despite the obvious lie. "You and Daniel need energy to stay warm." The children ate their portions quickly, clearly famished. The woman nibbled at her small piece, making it last. Her eyes never leaving her children with an expression of love so fierce it made Jonathan's chest ache. When they finished, the boy, Daniel, looked up at his mother with worried eyes. "Are we going to Grandma's house now?" "It's getting really cold. Soon, baby. The bus comes in an hour. We'll wait in the library until then to stay warm." "Why can't we go home?" the girl asked. The woman's voice cracked slightly. "You know why, Emma? We don't have our home anymore. But we're together, and that's what matters. Everything's going to be okay." But her face told a different story. Jonathan saw the exhaustion, the fear, the weight of trying to hold everything together for the 2 small people who depended entirely on her. He stood frozen, watching this scene of quiet desperation playing out 20 feet away. He could walk past, ignore it like he'd ignored countless uncomfortable situations in his pursuit of success. That was the easy choice, or he could do something. Jonathan approached slowly, not wanting to startle them. "Excuse me?" The woman immediately tensed, pulling her children closer. "We're not bothering anyone. We're just waiting for the bus." "I know. I'm not here to move you along." Jonathan paused, suddenly unsure how to proceed. "I couldn't help but notice you sharing your dinner." "Your children are lucky to have such a caring mother." The woman's expression softened slightly but remained guarded. "Thank you. We're fine. We don't need anything." Pride, Jonathan recognized. The kind that made people refuse help even when they desperately needed it. He understood that pride. He'd had it himself once, before success made such concerns irrelevant. "I'm sure you are fine," Jonathan said gently. "But humor me for a moment. My name is Jonathan. I work nearby and I've had a very long day. I was about to grab dinner at the restaurant across the street and honestly, I hate eating alone. Would you and your children consider joining me? My treat, of course." "We can't accept—" "Please," Jonathan interrupted. "Not as charity, but as a favor to me. It's almost impossible to get a table for one during the holidays, but families have no problem. You'd actually be helping me out." It was a transparent lie, but delivered with enough sincerity that the woman hesitated. Her children looked up at her hopefully, and Jonathan saw the moment her need to feed them overcame her pride. "Just dinner," she said firmly. "We can't accept anything more." "Just dinner," Jonathan agreed. The restaurant was warm and elegant, the kind of place where the prices weren't listed on the menu. Jonathan watched the woman. Her name was Sarah. He learned, try to hide her discomfort with the surroundings while her children stared wide-eyed at the crystal chandeliers and white tablecloths. "Order whatever you'd like," Jonathan encouraged. "I recommend the pasta, and they make exceptional hot chocolate for the kids." Over dinner, the story emerged in pieces. Sarah had been a teacher until budget cuts eliminated her position. Her husband had died 2 years ago in a construction accident, leaving her with 2 children and modest life insurance that ran out too quickly. Medical bills from Daniel's childhood asthma ate through her savings. She'd fallen behind on rent and been evicted that very morning. "We're going to my mother's house upstate," Sarah explained, watching her children devour their meals with obvious relief. "She doesn't have much room, but she said we can stay until I find work. I have interviews lined up at schools in her district. It's going to be okay." But her voice wavered, betraying the fear beneath her brave words. Jonathan excused himself partway through the meal, ostensibly to make a phone call. In reality, he spoke quietly with the restaurant manager and made several other calls, his mind working through a plan. When he returned, Emma was showing him a drawing she'd made on the paper placemat. "It's our family," she explained. "Mama, me, Daniel, and Daddy watching from heaven." Jonathan's throat tightened. "It's beautiful. Your daddy would be very proud of you both." "Mama says Daddy sends us guardian angels when we need help," Daniel added seriously. "Maybe you're one of our guardian angels." Sarah looked mortified. "Daniel, that's not—" "Maybe I am," Jonathan said softly, surprising himself. "Maybe we're all meant to be guardian angels for each other, and most of us just forget to do it." After dinner, Jonathan accompanied them to a nearby hotel. Sarah protested, but he was gentle and insistent. "The bus to your mother's doesn't leave until tomorrow morning anyway," he reasoned. "At least let your children sleep in a warm bed tonight. Please, it would give me peace of mind." The hotel was one Jonathan's company owned. He'd already arranged everything with the manager. A comfortable suite, warm beds, food for breakfast. He watched Sarah's face crumble with relief and gratitude as she realized her children would be safe and warm for the night. "I don't know how to thank you," she whispered, tears streaming down her face. "You've given us so much more than dinner. You've given us hope. You've given me something too," Jonathan replied. "A reminder of what matters, of what success should actually look like." He handed her an envelope. "This is from my company's emergency assistance fund for families in crisis. It's not charity, it's what the fund exists for. Inside is contact information for our human resources department. We have several educational initiatives that hire teachers. If you're interested, I'd like you to call them. No promises, but I think we might have positions in our corporate training program that would suit your skills." Sarah opened the envelope to find a check that made her gasp. "Enough to cover first and last month's rent, security deposit, and living expenses for several months. This is too much." "It's what the fund allocates for family emergencies," Jonathan said. It wasn't entirely true, he'd be covering most of it personally, but it allowed Sarah to accept without feeling like charity. "Use it to get stable again. Get your own place, take care of your children. If the job works out, great. If not, consider it giving you time to find the right position." He knelt down to say goodbye to Emma and Daniel. "Take care of your mom, okay? She's pretty special." "Will we see you again?" Emma asked. "I hope so," Jonathan said, surprised to find he meant it. Over the following weeks, Jonathan couldn't stop thinking about that family. He'd made good on his promise. Sarah had interviewed with his HR department and been hired to develop training curriculum for the company's professional development program. She was talented, creative, and brought empathy to corporate training that transformed how his company thought about employee development. But more than the professional success, Jonathan found himself drawn to their story. He visited Sarah and the children in their new apartment, bringing gifts at first, then just bringing himself. He played games with Emma and Daniel, listened to Sarah's dreams of creating better educational programs, and slowly became part of their lives. On Christmas Eve, 6 months after that snowy evening in the park, Jonathan found himself at Sarah's apartment for dinner. Nothing fancy, just a simple meal. But around that table, with 2 children laughing and a woman who'd learned to smile again, Jonathan felt something he'd been missing. Home, family, purpose beyond profit. "I've been thinking," Sarah said after the children had gone to bed, "about what you said that first night. About being guardian angels for each other. I think you've been ours. But I also think we've been yours. Because you've changed too. You smile now. You seem lighter somehow." Jonathan nodded. "You've taught me something I'd forgotten. That success isn't measured in dollars or deals. It's measured in moments like this, in the privilege of being part of something real." He pulled out a small box, his hands trembling slightly. I know this is fast. I know you've been through so much. But I also know that life is short and precious. And when you find people who make you want to be better, you don't let them go. Sarah's eyes widened as he opened the box to reveal a simple but beautiful ring. I'm not proposing to fix your life. You've done that yourself. I'm proposing because you and your children have fixed mine. Because that night in the park, watching you divide a sandwich with such love, I saw what I'd been missing my entire life. Not someone who needs my money, but people who need my presence, my love, my commitment to being more than just successful. Will you marry me? Will you let me be part of your family? Through happy tears, Sarah said yes. A year later, Jonathan stood in a remodeled community center his foundation had funded. It provided temporary housing, job training, and childcare for families in crisis. Sarah had helped design the programs, drawing from her own experience to create support that actually addressed real needs. Emma and Daniel, now officially his children through adoption, stood beside him as they cut the ribbon opening the center. The facility would help hundreds of families avoid the desperation Sarah had once faced. Daddy, Emma said. She'd started calling him that 6 months ago, and it still made his heart swell. Mama says you saw us in the park because you were meant to. That we all needed each other. Your mama's very wise, Jonathan replied. I thought I was successful before, but I was just wealthy. Success is this: building something that matters, having people who matter, being present for the moments that count. He looked at Sarah, radiant with purpose and joy, at Emma and Daniel thriving with stability and love, at the community center full of families being given the same chance Sarah had received. One shared meal on a cold night had changed everything. A moment when a struggling mother's love had been so fierce, so visible, that it cracked open a wealthy man's heart and reminded him what actually mattered. Sometimes our greatest wealth comes from unexpected places. Sometimes the people we think we're helping are actually saving us. And sometimes, one act of compassion can ripple forward, changing not just 2 lives but hundreds, building something beautiful from a single shared sandwich on a winter evening. If this story moved you, please like, share, and subscribe for more tales about the transformative power of compassion. Comment about a time when helping someone changed your own life. Those moments of connection create families that are chosen, not just born.